We ask that you do keep yourself muted, but Nick's going to engage with you, so you might unmute yourself. So you're going to be in control of your audio, but for the most part, please keep yourself muted so we don't hear the kids and dogs in the background. And then if you need to answer a question, talk with Nick, then you can unmute yourself. This is going to be recorded and will be on our website, www.visitgeorge.com, for you to watch at a later time. And it's also being on Facebook Live right now. So if you have questions that you put on Facebook, we'll also be monitoring that. So we'll bring those questions up too. So this is going to be a fun morning. Enjoy. Take it away, Nick.
Thank you, Julie. Welcome, everyone. It's so nice to not see all of you. That sounds awful. I'm kidding. I'm actually very excited to be here with you, but isn't it strange the world we live in now? And yet, despite the strangeness, there is even now more of a sense and a heightened urgency for us to provide the best service possible. If you agree with that, can you just in the Q&A for me, just put an amen in there, just real quick, just make sure we're all awake and alive. You're going to be on that keyboard. If you're on a computer today, put an amen in the Q&A and I'll see them pop up there, right? I just see the numbers going up, so that's good, right? Service is important, right? That's what we're going to talk about. So also in that Q&A for me, if you could just put in there so we know who's with us and so everyone else can see that. Can they can all see that, correct, Julie? Can they see the rest of the Q&A? Or is that something only you can see?
I believe everybody should be able to see that.
Okay, cool. Just put in there where you're coming to us from. You know, what your name and your business. Where do you work? Who are you? So we know who is in the room. Then we'll just go ahead and get started. While you're doing that, I want to just cover a couple quick tips for you on Zoom. If you're still unfamiliar with this or still learning, right? We're as we like to often say, it feels like we're kind of building the airplane as we're flying it. So some quick Zoom tips for you, okay? If you're muted, which you all should be right now, and you want to jump in and actually say something, even if it's just a quick agreement, a lot of people don't know this, but if you hold your space bar down on your keyboard, that will temporarily unmute you, almost as if you were holding a button on a walkie-talkie. And then when you let go of it, it will mute you again. So fun tip for you. Make sure you hold it down while you're talking, otherwise it'll kind of go like that, okay? So make sure you hold it down the whole time you're talking. Also, if you want to see the rest of the attendees in the room, a lot of people don't know this is possible, but in the top right corner of your Zoom, right up here where I'm pointing, there should be a thing that says View Options. If you see that, click on View Options and scroll down to Side-by-Side Gallery. That will then allow you to have the gallery of all of your guests on the one side of your screen, so everyone who's participating over here, and the left side will be this wonderful PowerPoint with my kid hanging upside down and me smiling still despite all of the craziness of 2020, okay? If you would like that, that is an option for you, okay? And lastly, before we jump really into the content, if you're comfortable with it, I love seeing faces. I tell people all the time, I eat, breathe, and sleep on smiles and engagement, right? I love a laugh. I love a good head nod. And in 2020, it's tough for me to always get that in the Zoom room. So if you are comfortable and are at a place where you feel like you can show us who you are, we'd be happy to see it. And I know that people always give me 1,001 excuses. Well, but I didn't wear my makeup today, or I'm still in my pajamas. It doesn't matter to me. I'm going to meet you where you are, right? So if you're comfortable, show us who you are so we can all see who's in the room, all right? And with that being said, I need 3 volunteers before we get into this content. Julie, tell me who the first 3 people are that put their name in the comment box. Tell me who they are. I need 3 people. Just say, yep, I'm in.
Okay, we have Melissa, Kips,
okay,
and Jay Dorsey.
Okay, Melissa, Tiff, and Jay. Okay, Melissa, you've got the next slide. You're gonna unmute yourself and you're gonna read the next slide for me. You ready? Melissa, you had a place to unmute yourself. Are you good? Oh, let's go to the next slide. All right, when we get to it, you're up, Melissa, okay? I'll tell you when. Let me tell you all a little bit more about myself real quick. She told me a little bit of who I am, just so you know I'm not some random guy. These are some of the organizations I've worked with in the past on content related to service excellence, leadership, resilience. I work primarily with colleges and universities. I've been at Coastal Carolina University for 9 years. I have my own business, Destefano Leadership. That's why we're here. But you don't really care about me. This is about what you're going to get out of it. So let's talk about service. Okay, Melissa, you're up. First slide. Read this for us. Unmute yourself and read it out loud.
Can you hear me?
Yep, go ahead.
Okay. When asking consumers what impacts their level of trust with a company, offering excellent customer service ranked number 1.
Okay, cool. Thank you, Melissa. Go to our next slide. Tiff, I think you're up.
Across the globe, 96% of consumers say customer service is an important factor in their choice of loyalty to a brand.
96%. That's couple 2 or 3, right? Okay, and last but not least, Jay, go ahead.
It's Jay Dorsey.
Jay Dorsey, you got this. Nope, Jay's not there.
Okay, let's go to Jacob Neesmith.
Jacob, you're up, man. Unmute and read it. You got it. Hold the space bar. Look, this is an exercise in engagement. Who's got it? Who's next?
Johnny Pope.
Johnny, unmute yourself. Read it out loud. All right, I'm Johnny. 89% of consumers have switched to doing business with the. Oh, go ahead, Johnny. Go. I'm doing it for you. Go.
Business with a competitor following a poor customer experience.
All right. So when we think about those 3 slides, it's pretty obvious that customer service is important, is it not? Right? So, right? You can't afford to offer even average service, let alone poor service. So we're going to talk today about how we start with offering what I like to say is awesome service, the best of the best, not where you are here. And you might be offering good service, right? Maybe you're right here, right now. We're going to talk about how do we take it to the next level. All right. That's what we're doing here today because, right, awesome service is common sense, right? It's pretty obvious, is it not? But unfortunately, it's not really common action. If it's not common action for me, give me an amen in the chat box. Just let me know you're with me. It's not common action, right? We see it, but then why are we still, or we know what it should look like, but why do we still have those 3 slides and those statistics of, 89% have switched to a competitor after poor service? The reason I think it happens is because we are not clear on our values. And we're going to talk about the importance of clarifying our values here today. And then also I'm going to give you some specific tips that relate to your values that you can then use as you move towards common service or common action of awesome service, okay? So the question is, how can I make our service awesome? That's what we're going to talk about, all right? We're going to start with our values. But first, I want to tell you a story, okay? This is one of my favorite all-time quotes. Sometimes you will never know the value of a moment until it becomes a memory. There's one key word in that quote that I've already said multiple times during this session. What is it? Someone unmute yourself and tell me what it is. What's that key word where it's the purpose of all of this?
Value.
Value. Thank you, Julie. Yes, absolutely. The value of a moment until it becomes a memory. So I want to take you all the way back to 2009. Okay, I'm going to show my age here and maybe that I'm a little young. But in 2009, I had just graduated college. Okay, and I won a trip to Disney World through my college. Okay, and I took my college sweetheart. Right, I took my now wife, Megan. I took her on this trip and it was a wonderful trip. Okay. And people have different thoughts about Disney, and how wonderful it can be. Also, maybe sometimes how expensive it could be. And we can look to it as a model of service, but I had a specific experience in there and a moment that became a true memory for me. And I want to share that with y'all. So this was my wife, Megan, and I on our last day of our trip. Okay. So this looks like a pretty awful picture when you really look at it. One, I don't know, she still looks at this picture and tells me like, why did you let me wear this? Why were you letting me wear like a floral print thing with a a field hockey shirt. The field hockey shirt she put on because it was actually one of my old shirts from a friend that I gave to her, just to help keep her warm because it was cold. We had just finished dinner. At dinner, we ate dinner in Cinderella's castle. It was magical. You know, everything you could think about Disney, just absolutely wonderful. And we ate dinner in there. And during dinner, she watched two different couples, similar age to us, both have proposals that took place. And they were in this like bed of roses with like a glass slipper. It was like the most magical thing you could think of. And she kept looking around thinking like, well, when's mine coming? Mind you, we had been dating for about 4 or 5 years now at this point. And she just kept looking around, and I could realize afterwards that she was pretty dejected. She was kind of sad. Now, if you look at this picture, you see something in my left hand, right? Anyone notice that beforehand? So that is the ring box, right? It's about to happen, okay? This was the plan the whole time. Little did she know, okay? So we go out and we're watching the fireworks. If you look at this picture, you'll see that there's not very many people behind us, directly behind us, because at Disney World, they clear out the main street and they put people off to the sides, right? So that there's a way for people to get through. You can't stand in the streets. You have to stand on the sidewalks when you're watching the fireworks. So she's pretty upset. I can tell she's not feeling it. She's ready to go home. I was like, let's just stay for the fireworks. It's going to be great. Thinking to myself, like, we have to stay, woman. Like, I'm about to ask you to marry me. Come on. We can't leave. We can't go home yet. So I convince her. I say, hey, let's go out in the middle of the street and get someone to take our picture. It'd be a great picture right now. She's a rule follower. She works for Grand Strand Medical Center up the road, and she's responsible for their time cards and following billing and compliance. Like, she's a rule follower through and through. It's part of her job now. And she said, Nick, we can't do that. It's against the rules. I was like, come on, let's just do it. Let's go. And it's going to be a great picture. And before that, I took our digital camera at the time, and I took a picture of the back of someone's head in front of us. She still laughs about it because she said she looked at it and thought, what is he taking a picture of? Really, I was just testing to make sure that you could get a picture of a person and still have the thing behind it and that it would look okay. So we go out there, and I walk over to a cast member, unbeknownst to her, and I have the ring in my hand because I hold the camera up to the cast member and I go like this. I say, see this? Can you take a few pictures of us? You know what I'm about to do? And the cast member was like, oh my God, yes, got so excited. I was taking a chance. I didn't know if they would take a picture. So this is the first picture before this actually happened, right? So we actually, clearly she's shocked. She said yes. We've been married for 9 years now. So everything was wonderful. It was a beautiful moment, but here's why it became a memory, y'all, okay? And a lot of people would be like, no crap, it became a memory. Like, you got engaged. Like, that's why it was memorable. But two specific things happened afterwards that make this extra memorable for us, right? And these are them, right? That's the face of the guy in the background. Like, the pure joy of this guy behind me. He came up to us afterwards and was like, you guys just made my day. I was like, we made your day? Like, I think I made her day. I was so shocked that he came up to us and like hugged us and was like, this is pre-coronavirus, but he hugged us and was so happy for us and so excited. And he said, I'll be right back. What's your names? And we told him, Nick and Megan. And this guy here, right? He went down. I don't know where he went. He went away for like 2 minutes. We're still like hugging and happy. And like all these people are like, people cheered. I was like, this is crazy. Not what I expected. And he came back with this pin. Now, this is a pin that they just give to people when you get engaged. You usually have to go and ask for it. But he came back and it had both of our names on it. And he wrote congratulations on the back of it. And it was something that to me was like, I still have it today. It's tucked away in an attic somewhere in like a memory box, but it was something that for me at the moment felt extra special. It was a small thing that made a big difference. And that's because that's what they value at Disney. That's what's important to them, is making those memories. And we all can do that in our service. You don't have to be Disney, okay? We're going to talk about today the ways we can do that, all right? So now that we've learned Nick's engagement story, we can all say, oh, you can put an aw in the chat box if you're still with me. All right. When I tell it to college students, all the college girls are like, oh my God. The rest of you are probably all married and like, okay, great, Nick, that's nice, right? Love it. Okay. So your company values are your company DNA, right? They help differentiate the business from the competition. That's why you can't make important decisions without having them in mind. You have to, and I love that this is highlighted, truly honor your company values. What are those values? They have to be there in every single thing that you do. This is a wonderful company called Smart. They work on employee engagement, and they work with large Fortune 500 companies, and they work on helping people clarify their values, okay? And that's what we're gonna try and do here today, all right? So I'm gonna ask you some questions. I'm gonna ask you to take a minute and think about it. If you don't have a pen and paper in front of you, get something out because I want you to write some of these things down, okay? So this is a wonderful question. I wanna know what excites you about coming to work every single day. When you get out of bed in the morning, what excites you? Anybody willing to unmute yourself and tell me what excites you about coming to work every day? Why do you love coming to work? You could also put it in the chat. I can't see it, but if you put it in there, that'd be awesome. Who wants to tell me what excites you about coming to work? Who we got?
How about Crystal Boizo?
Okay. What do you got to say?
She's still got herself muted.
That's okay. We're patient. What are they saying in the chat, Julie? Why are we excited to come to work? You wake up, get out of bed. I'm excited because fill in the blank. What do we got, y'all?
Crystal said, my 4-year-old son and family.
Love it. Family is important. 4-year-old kids, they definitely wake you up too. Cool. What else?
Becky Large said, providing new experiences for our autism people and their families.
Cool. Awesome. Love it. Okay. This is a question. If we're going to talk about values, you need to take time and answer for yourself. Personally, for yourself, before you do anything else. Before we even talk about your business, you need to be able to answer this for yourself, because then the next logical question that I have for you is, what excites your employees about coming to work every day? How many of you, if you manage employees or supervise people, or maybe you're the owner, you run your business, could answer this for your employees? And is it the same thing? Because we need to recognize what makes people tick. We need to recognize what are people's passions? What are they good at? Where do their strengths lie? If we're going to talk about our values and providing service, if you don't have employees that are excited to come to work, do you think they're going to be excited to provide awesome service? Because you have probably experienced employees in other businesses who are not excited about coming to work. They're the employee that when you ask them the question for service in a retail store, when you walk up to them, their first response is that person excited about being at work? No. And you can make that guess about them just based on the way that they're carrying themselves. So we need to make sure that our employees are excited about coming to work, that they're engaged, that they want to be there. That's where it really, truly all starts. And then the next logical question, what do you think it's going to be? What excites you? What excites your employees? What do you think the next question is going to be? How about, what excites your customers about your business? Why are your customers excited about your business? You have to be able to answer that question, because there's lots of ways that we provide value, right? There's things like functional value, you know, maybe your business saves someone time. Then there's also things like value that is emotional, right? Maybe it makes someone's life easier. It also might make someone feel a certain way, you know, it makes them feel appreciated. That's why they love coming and doing business with you. There's actually a wonderful Harvard Business Review article. I'll share it with you all at the end. I'll share the link about the 30 different functional ways we add value to our businesses. And those are the things that excite customers about your business. All right. Wonderful. So after we've answered these 3 questions, we can then take some time and clarify our values. So I have 20 values on this screen, okay? I'm gonna take you through a quick exercise to get you to clarify some of your own values as we go through this, okay? So as you look at these 20 values, I want you to write down for your business, what are the top 10? You can pick 10 of them, okay? Write them down for me. I'm gonna give you a minute, write them down, okay? And then when you've got them, the first person who feels like they have their 10 done, I want you to unmute yourself and tell me what are your 10. And if there's other ones that aren't on this list, add another one into it. While you do that, I'm gonna have my 4th cup of coffee. Anybody got their 10?
Got some coming up here. Efficiency,
Cool, what do we got?
teamwork,
Nice, good. All right. Okay, so after you've come up with 10, what I'm gonna challenge you to do is to slash it down to 5. A lot of people, when I say that, are like, Nick, you're a jerk. Why would you do that to me? I don't want to do 5. Like I want 10. All right. Slash it down to 5. And then tell me how did that feel? Crossing some of this off. Maybe you had to cross off leadership. You had to look at the difference between, integrity versus leadership, which is more important to our company, to our values. So as we do this, y'all, we've got an hour here this morning. I want to get to some physical, actual tips that you can go through. I would highly suggest that you do an activity like this, where you ask those questions of yourself, your employees, and your customers, to sit down with a team of people to say, all right, this is our team of 5. We need to sit down and we need to figure out what is important to us, and do these values drive the way that we do our business? Do we live them out every day, right? People tell me all the time that they believe something, and I will respond to them, if you believe it, you better be living it out, because it literally tells you in the word believe that you should be living it. But we say we value things, and then I walk into a business and there's no ownership, right? If you tell me you value ownership, then your business needs to be clean, because the ownership is on each of us individually to make sure that we're cleaning as we go, right? If you say you value efficiency and I walk into your store and I have to walk through like 14 different processes to actually buy the pair of blue jeans, well, then there's nothing efficient about it. And it's the same thing with our websites, where the values are, right? Go and look at your website. Is there a way for somebody to actually purchase your product, to actually do business with you? I see so many websites where people put something together. They'll say something like, we value efficiency, and then I can't find anywhere to actually book a call with somebody or to do something. That'd be like me going into, a retail store, and I try to buy something, and the person that I ask, hey, where's the cash register? They say, okay, you got to go down 2 hallways, over a flight of steps, up 2 more, and then it's in the back hallway over there. That's where you can purchase them. There's nothing efficient about that. So it has to be in person and online as well. All right, cool.
we have some more here.
Cool, yeah.
Bring trust, integrity, honesty, quality, teamwork, efficiency, commitment to customers, leadership, quality, continuous learning. That's good.
Love it.
Honesty, member trust, ownership, quality, and commitment to our members.
Cool.
Integrity.
Love that. Cool. That's fantastic. So I would really challenge all of you to take this back. Go back and rewatch the Facebook Live. If you need the actual picture of this, I'm happy to send it to you. Just send me an email. My contact information is at the end, or go to my website. But use this, take this, do this activity with your employees, because you should be able to answer what excites you. Your employees should be able to talk about what excites them. And you need to figure out what excites your customers about coming and doing business with you. That should be your values. That's the base of it. Okay? All right. Awesome. So let's talk about, we're going to give you 5 tips for awesome service. Okay? I'm going to give you 5 specific things. We're going to cover each of these in depth. If you're someone who likes to take a picture, here's your screen to take a picture of it. We're going to do all 5 of these here and ways that you can live them out. All right? So talk about our very first one. Y'all tell me what you see in this picture. What do we see? Someone unmute yourself. What do you see?
Good and evil.
Good.
Good. Okay. Who said evil too, right? They're both
Yes.
in there. Ah, right. Because really, when we talk about our attitude, we say our attitude is everything. But when you look at good and evil, you can't have one without the other. They both have to be there. Okay. And the same thing comes with our attitude. Attitude is all about perception. Because my question for you is, when you walk into a store, when you do business with someone, can you see someone's attitude? Can you tell if someone has an attitude, both good or bad? Yeah? How so? How can you tell someone's attitude? What's my attitude right now? I'm pretty happy. I'm upbeat. I'm caffeinated. I'm good to go. And now I don't have a very good attitude, do I? My arms are crossed, right? My body language is poor. But here's the thing, y'all. You don't need to know, and your customers don't need to know what has happened in your life or your day or what is going on with you before they actually experience service with you. I could have had the worst morning ever, and you don't need to know that. None of you need to know what happened with my 5-year-old and my 2-year-old and the fact that one of them was awake at 4:40 this morning, okay? Like, you don't need to know that. But you might have your own perceptions about what my attitude is if I let that impact my day, right? So I love this quote from Oprah Winfrey. The greatest discovery of all time is that a person can change their future by merely changing your attitude. There are 3 things that I think we can all work on, and this comes from positive psychology from a gentleman named Martin Seligman, okay? He says there are 3 things that when something bad happens, we allow it to change our day and our destiny, right? He says, when things happen to us, is it permanent, pervasive, or personal? When something bad happens, if it is not those 3 things, permanent, pervasive, and personal, then we need to change our attitude about it. Okay? And that's not always easy to do, but that's something that we can all step back from, and we can look at it and say, you know what? This is what's going on in business right now. This is 2020, right? Is anything in 2020 permanent, pervasive, and personal, right? Maybe you have to drive to work one day and you hit every single red light. You get stuck in traffic, your kid spills coffee on you. I mean, who knows? Like, there's a myriad of things of this dumpster fire of 2020 that can go wrong, right? But if it's not permanent, okay, the red lights aren't permanent, okay, otherwise they'd be broken. It's not pervasive. Did the red lights really impact the rest of your day? They don't really have anything to do with it. And they're definitely not personal, despite the fact that it feels like sometimes every single red light has like some little man sitting in the box on the side of the road going like, ha ha, I got you, Nick. That's what it feels like. I know, right? But when you let those things become permanent, pervasive, and personal, you get to work, it's 8:30 in the morning, and you're the person that says, oh my gosh, today's ruined. And my response to you would be, how? It's 8:30. It's not possible to be ruined yet, okay? So we have to train our people and talk to people about the importance of attitude, okay? That's our number 1 tip. So attitude is everything. All right. Next thing, we need to listen to learn, not respond. Where are these people doing business? Probably can tell just based on the picture. It's like a customer service mecca, right? Like they know it all, they do it all, they get like thousands of people through, right? In 2 minutes. Chick-fil-A. That's not why I have the picture up though. It's a picture to remind you of my father, because I do not want you all to be like my father, okay? This is a true story. This is what I grew up with. So my dad is an accountant. No offense to any of the accountants or bankers in the room, but he is all about figures, facts, numbers, like straightforward. He has a sign in his business up in Maryland that says it is what it is, because he believes like the numbers never lie. My dad's not the best listener, okay? My brothers and I joke now, I'm the oldest of four, that his response to everything growing up was okay. Whether he heard you or not, that was his response. So the picture of the drive-through is because when we would go through drive-throughs as kids, when someone hands you your food out the window, they say, "Have a nice day." What's your response? Just unmute yourself. What would you respond with? "Have a nice day."
You too.
"Thanks, you too." Yeah, my dad always just said, "Okay," and kept going. Like, "Have a nice day." "Okay." And he just kept moving forward. All right. He heard the person, but he was not listening to respond, not to learn, right? And there's a big difference. We have to listen to learn, not to respond. Okay. One of my favorite organizations is the Center for Creative Leadership. They do wonderful work around leadership and nonprofits. And they have 6 things that they say are key when it comes to active listening skills. So first, you have to pay attention, which means you do things like put your phone down and actively show the person that you're listening. You say, "I'm going to put my phone on silent for a second so I can give you my full attention," and tell the person you're doing that. You withhold judgment. This is extremely important because we tell ourselves stories about people. We look at individuals and we think, "Oh my gosh, this person is lazy. I can't believe they're doing this." We come into the world, all of us, in some way, shape, or form, with some type of judgment about others, for better or for worse. So we have to slow down and meet people where they are, okay? We reflect. We tell people what we're hearing, right? You know, so when you're complaining to me and you're upset, I say, "You know what, John, that sounds really hard. That sounds tough. You know, based on the tone of your voice, you sound really upset." And then we clarify and we say, "Am I correct in saying that this is the actual issue? Is this what's going wrong? Am I on the same page as you?" Right? So after I've reflected and I've said, "That sounds really tough. Am I on the same page?" And he says, "Yes," then I'm going to summarize and say, "You know what? Based on the fact that you're pretty upset about this thing, right? It sounds like this might be what you want. Am I on the same page with you?" Right? And then after that, we're going to then share what we can do. Okay. We have to actually do something about this, right? And be willing to also share your own struggles with it. You're good. Mute yourself for me, whoever. I don't know who that is speaking. Make sure you're muted so we don't hear you. You're good. We share ourselves, right? You know, I've been through something similar, or you know what? That's a common experience. People just want to feel like they're not alone, right? Which is when we have those issues, ultimately where it comes from, right? They feel like you're not living up to your values, and it might just be a difference in opinion. That's okay. We need to meet people where they are. So our next thing is practicing presence. Okay. Raise your hand and just give me a thumbs up in the on your thing. You could use your reactions. Give me a thumbs up if you have your cell phone on you right now. If your phone is on your desk, if your phone is in your pocket, give me a thumbs up. Right? It's the world we live in now. But don't our meetings sometimes, and even our stores and our businesses and the world that we work in and live in, doesn't it look like this picture a lot? You know, sometimes it feels like the zombie apocalypse is everyone just like looking down, like walking, right? Like it's wild. We have to practice it though. And I want to give you some tips on how we can do that. Okay. Because this is key when it comes to service, right? So the first tip for you when it comes to practicing being present is set limits and expectations for yourself and others. You know, if you don't ever set an expectation for your employees, or you don't set an expectation for people in your business of what's acceptable and what's unacceptable, people are going to default to what is acceptable to them. If you don't set the expectation, they'll default to what's acceptable to them every single time. I work with college students, trust me, right? They are glued to their phone. I have seen far too many memes of people saying, you know, the Generation Z umbilical cord is the charger, right? Like, we're like on it all the time. So when they walk into my classroom or when they walk into a session with me, I let them know they're more than welcome to use their phone if it is some type of an emergency. But if not, I would like them to put their phone face down or put it away. And I set that expectation and I put it on them. But I also meet people where they are. So in your meetings, if someone comes to you and says, or they come to work and they say, I've got, this horrible thing going on in my life and I might get this phone call. Well, then I'm going to say to them, that's okay. Thank you for telling me, but I've set the expectation, right? Also, when we talk about setting expectations, I think it's important that we set them for ourselves. How many of you monitor your screen time and worry about and track how much time we are on a phone or on devices? And it's really difficult now in 2020 when we are nonstop. We are constantly, in front of Zoom and video conferencing, and it feels like we're on it all the time. Part of being present is connecting with people. All right. So monitor and figure out where you can be more present. And then please, for all things holy, if you have any type of a business where there is a forward-facing counter, please do not be passive aggressive, okay? This is a sign that I have seen in far too many businesses. Sorry, we won't serve you until you get off your cell phone. First off, if a person comes up to you and is already on their phone, do you think they're gonna read that and respond to it? Or they're gonna be like, oh, hold on, let me hang up my phone real quick. When's the last time that actually happened? It doesn't. If anything, it just sets you up for conflict right from the beginning. Because I walk in, I'm on my phone, right? And I see this and I'm like, I need to take this phone call. So we set the expectation. If part of your values are creating connections and your value, is personalization, then you just tell the person when they come in there, hey, can you give me 2 more minutes, right? If you are the person on the phone. If it's the other way, you need to have that uncomfortable conversation, not put up a sign that says, we'll serve you when you get off your phone. You need to say to them, sir, ma'am, we want to give you the best service absolutely possible. I recognize your time is important to you, right? When you get off your phone, we're gonna do that for you. Now, granted, maybe you work somewhere where it's quick and through, right? And you don't do that, but you have to set that expectation depending on what your business is. All right. Beautiful. All right. So let's talk about being solution oriented. Why? All you ever ask me is why. We want to solve our customers' problems. Knowing why might help us better understand what they need, not just what they want. If you're going to be solution oriented, you have to recognize the difference between what people want versus what they need. Okay. People come into our businesses all the time and think that they want something. And when reality is they need something totally different. You have to be willing to ask the questions to understand and solve the problem. Maybe you don't ask the customer why, but you say something to them like, that's really interesting. Tell me more about, why you're bringing that to me, or tell me what's causing you to ask that question. I see oftentimes in businesses where people will, in a comments page, they'll say your service is terrible. And what do people want to do? They want to respond with, no, it's not. And you want to argue back. The appropriate thing is to understand and solve the problem, which would be to send them a separate message that says, hey, thanks for bringing that to our attention. Can you tell me why you're saying that? Talk to me about what happened so that we can better understand it, because oftentimes people will say something and mean something totally different underneath of it, right? For example, if we go back to my engagement story at the very beginning, y'all, for months leading up to that, my loud, amazing, Italian, loud mother, was asking me, Nick, when are you going to ask Megan to marry you? Nick, when are you going to ask Megan to marry you? It was nonstop. It was like a broken record over and over and over and over again. And finally, one time I came home, I said, it's really interesting, Mom. Can you tell me why you're asking that question? And it was like a cartoon, she couldn't get her words out of her mouth fast enough. It was she couldn't figure it out. And I said, I just need you to realize you've asked me that question every time I came home for the past 6 months. She's like, well, I just want to be a part of it. I was like, okay, I'll tell you about it. But I didn't know why she was asking the question. And I was just getting frustrated with it. When in reality, if I just took the time and said, thanks for asking that, Mom, but well, why does that matter? Like, why do you want to know? Like, what's the point of asking so many times? Like, you're not going to ask her to marry you. What does it matter to you? She just wanted to be a part of it. That was the underlying need, right? Or want. So that's what we need to think about. Can you figure that out for your employees? And that saying things like, that's interesting, tell me more. That's interesting. Why would you do that? That's interesting. You know, what's your purpose in asking that? Get that information out. Okay. All right. Our next thing is move from no to no. Give me a thumbs up if you have to tell people no in your business. You have to tell people, nope, we can't do that. That's okay. Now give me a thumbs up or an amen in the chat. Give me a nope or a no, 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 whatever it is. Just let me know you're still with me. I want to know that if you have to tell people no, I want you to be excited about no. That's not something I would usually say, but it's the truth, because we need to move from no to no. And what I mean by that is, do people know the reason behind why you can't do something? Because hand in hand with this is your alphabet options, right? You can't do A, but maybe you can do B or C, or you can figure out what letter in the alphabet this person actually needs. And thank the good Lord that there's 26 letters in the alphabet, and get creative about finding a solution, because people come to us all the time and want something that we can't do in our businesses. There's just reasons behind things. Maybe it's a law, maybe it's a policy, it's the way your business operates. It would be bad for your bottom line. Tell the people the truth. They need to know why you can't do something, and then what are the things you can do instead. Because it should never be no, period. It should be no, we can't, no, comma, we can't, but we can do these things instead. There should never just be a no, period. It needs to move from no to no. What are our options? Okay, so that's how we can be solution oriented. Any questions on that so far? Anyone dropping anything in the comments, Julie?
Yeah,
I just saw you.
a lot of people are saying, sometimes I have to say no.
Yeah, sometimes you do. I mean, and that's okay. The question I have for you and the challenge is, if you're going to be solution oriented, can you tell the people why you have to say no? Because really, our customers are a lot of times like my 5-year-old. They want to know why. And I can't just say to my customer, because I said so. Okay, that's not going to be acceptable service. All right. All right, I have a question for you. This is me drawing a really bad car. Okay, I didn't major in art, right? I majored in organizational management and leadership. Thank God. So my question is, how many people can drive this car at one time, I should say? One, right? How many gas pedals are in this car? One. How many steering wheels are in this car? One. When someone's driving the car, who's responsible for driving the car? That one person, okay? Look, this is the way your employees need to embrace service in your business. People need to come to work understanding that I drive this car. I'm responsible for what happens in front of me. And guess what? There's going to be people in the passenger seat and the back seat, and people who are in front of you and behind you, right? You might have a mass hole behind you who's tailgating you, trying to tell you where you need to go, right? You might have the person who walks into your business and is ready to go that day. They are ready to argue and to fight, and like they come in with conflict on their mind. If your person doesn't come to work understanding that this person is in front of me, if your employees don't come ready to say, I control this car, it's my destiny, how I respond to this, I can choose my attitude, I can be present, right? I can be solution oriented. If they don't come in recognizing that these things that we're talking about are our responsibility, not some department, then you're going to lose your customers. People will walk out of your business if your employees are not responsible and accountable for the people that they meet, right? We like to say the buck stops here. There is no more passing the buck. If someone's in front of me, things like, well, that's not my job, you need to go see that person, aren't acceptable. That's not service. I mean, that's service, but that's not awesome service. That's basic service. And that's what needs to stop. We've got to figure out a way to say, this is what we offer, and this is how everyone in our business does it, right? Because as Mother Teresa said, none of us, including me, ever do great things, but we can all do small things with great love. And if we do that together, we can do something wonderful. That's what awesome service looks like when we all do that. None of this stuff is rocket science, right? It's pretty common sense, but unfortunately, it's not always common action. So I hope you will take this information, because look, I can talk until I'm blue in the face, but if you don't take it out there and do something with it, you've wasted your time. And I hate to be that direct, but it's the truth. If you don't take this out from this session and say, how can I sit down with my employees and figure out what are our values? How can I figure out what excites me and our employees and our customers about doing business with us? And how do I practice my attitude and being present and being solution oriented and all of, if you don't practice it, then why did you sit here? Because people take notes all the time, but they don't always take action. So my challenge to you is to go out there and to figure out your values and to put this stuff into practice, right? Please know I'm here for you, right? I can be a resource. This is my information. I'm happy to help with any of this, whether that's coaching or training or going through values. It's what I do, and I'm happy to help with any of it. Your best bet to get in contact with me is probably my email there. And we have about 10 minutes left. I wanted to make sure we left time for questions. If people want to know anything specifically, or if they've been asking them, we're going to leave a little time open. Julie, if you want to just unmute yourself and tell me, or if you all want to unmute yourself and just tell me what questions you have. I'm here to answer whatever it is you need and support in your service endeavors.
I don't see any questions in the Q&A chat box yet, but if anybody has any questions, please, it's at the bottom of your screen in the middle. It says Q&A. You can list a question there.
If you don't have questions, don't leave, because I have one more thing to ask you to do before you go. So don't go anywhere. You're still here with me.
Nick, this is Becky. I have a question. So when you're talking about, for some businesses, this, when you're talking about, I guess, employee empowerment,
Yes.
and like with the buck stopping there, there's some people, and me on occasion are, kind of uncomfortable with that. And how do you provide, or, as a business owner, I guess, giving up control, so to speak, even though when you're not there, you're giving up control, but,
Sure.
what kind of steps can you institute for, small business owners who understand the need for this kind of empowerment, and how do you talk them off the ledge and coach them to do that?
Absolutely. So I think my first question to anyone who's struggling that would be, how comfortable are you with failure? So that's a lot of times where the control comes in. We're afraid of failure, and there has to be some type of a threshold, right? And I think when we're talking about empowerment of our employees and we're coaching through this, there has to be a conversation about, kind of setting up some guide rails, right? Not necessarily opening up the bowling alley with no bumpers, but saying, hey, you just need to stay within these parameters, because oftentimes what I see happen is, frontline employees or people who are not necessarily in charge, so to speak, the people who don't always have all of the authority, oftentimes have a lot of information. And when it comes to solving problems, you have to have both of them. Because if your employees have all this information in front of them, but they have zero authority to actually do anything with it, then it doesn't matter how much information you have. They both have to be there. So I think some of it is about setting up the guide rails for failure and not letting people completely fail. So telling people, this is what is acceptable, this is what's unacceptable, and asking them, does this fit within our values? If you can justify to me as the business owner that what you did fit within our values, right? You didn't do something completely out in left field. Even if it fails, I'm going to be comfortable with it, because you've done it within our values, rather than saying like, hey, let's go try this crazy idea that has nothing to do with our values and I think it's going to be great for us. In that case, I'm going to say you've gone outside of the boundaries, right? Also, I would highly suggest, if you're having struggles with that, to set up some type of a feedback loop, some way for someone to follow up with you. I think something that's also helpful is to have consistent and regular meetings. So for example, at Coastal, I have regular meetings with the supervisor. It's every other week. So I know this is coming up. I'm going to be expected to tell them what's going on. What am I doing? But I also know what's acceptable in terms of failure and where that level is. But you have to build that trust with people to do that as well. And some of that is about your relationship with them. So those regular meetings help to build that trust as well. So I hope that helps. But I think there's a lot of
question here in the Q&A box. From Jacob, can you give a few tips on how employers can energize their employees to be excited about work?
Love that. That's a great question, Jacob. I think people have to be in positions where they're utilizing their strengths. So one of the things Julie said at the beginning about me is that I'm a Gallup certified strengths coach. So one of the things I do is I coach people, employees, business owners, college students, on the importance of living within your strengths and your natural talents, because all of us as humans have things that we're naturally good at. I am naturally good at talking, at being extroverted. It's why I'm comfortable speaking in front of a screen, and I'm doing something that uses that passion every day for my job. So one thing that I find that can be really energizing for employees is when they have a say into some degree, whatever possible, part of their job description. So a lot of times we hire people for a role rather than hiring a role for a person. And when you have the ability to adjust, and I'm not saying someone walks in and you say, oh, hey, you want to do this totally different thing? Like, that sounds great. No, what I'm talking about is how do you find ways to tinker with and to make parts of their job that, you know, energize and excite them change? If someone is really good at a specific thing, can you give them the autonomy to do that? Because if you put me in front of a job where I was responsible for monitoring an Excel sheet all day and looking at the details, like, I would never be excited about coming to work. But if you put someone who was really good at data analysis in front of this Zoom screen and said, hey, you have to give a 45-minute presentation, they would look at you like you're crazy and say, there's no way I'm doing that. I'm not excited about it. So you need to, one, take the time to know who your employees are. I think that's the first thing that we all should do, is spend more time learning who are your employees, what makes them tick. Ask the question. You know, I mean, if we're going to be really direct, Jacob, I would say, if you want to figure out how to excite them, ask them, what would make you excited to come to work? Like, see what they say, because it's going to be different for each of them. So take the time to ask them, you know, and maybe they're going to say something like, I need more money. Okay, well, we might not be able to do that right now. But again, if we're moving from no to no, right, what else could we do for you? We ask the question to follow up and to dig deeper. You've got to know who your employees are and figure out what makes them tick. Don't do things like, you know, I see far too many employees think that they can fix things with things like pizza parties and like little incentives, and that's nice. But, you know, it's kind of like that Flex Seal commercial where the guy slaps a big piece of Flex Seal on the giant tube with all this, like, people think I'm going to just slap a pizza party on this and fix all my engagement issues. Like, that's not going to do it. It takes time and intentionality and tough conversations. Hope that helps.
We have another question here from Janet. Can you speak a bit about diffusing, dispelling conflict in customer service? Some customers may approach us with less than a positive attitude, and it's important not to get caught up in that.
Absolutely. So in terms of diffusing, words are hard. I've been talking for a minute here. I think it's important that we're willing to actually like slow down as employees. I tell people all the time, pause and wind the clock, you know, just like press pause, okay? Because a lot of times we think we should meet people where they are by meeting them with the same level of intensity. And if you come to me and you are angry and you're loud, I'm going to give you the opportunity to be angry and loud, but I'm not going to let you do it by walking all over me. I'm going to say to you, Julie, I recognize you're angry. Can we sit down and talk about this and have that conversation to say, hey, this is how we can diffuse it. That's my dog. 1 second. So we need to say, yep, go play over there, buddy. Sorry, y'all. We need to take time to meet people where they are, but be willing to bring them down to the level where we need them to be to fix the issue. Because I can't provide service for you if you come in with a bad attitude and you're angry and you're upset and you're ready to go. But I also can't fix it if I bring the same bad attitude to it, right? It's like that old saying, you know, two wrongs don't make a right, right? So saying to someone like, hey, can we sit down and talk about this, right? Or asking the question. I often tell people one of the best things to do is to talk tentatively, to kind of slowly like walk on eggshells into it, rather than just being like, hey, you have a bad attitude, but saying to them, hey, can we slow down and figure out how we can best assist you today? Like, hey, you seem pretty angry. Is everything okay? And they might say, yeah, I'm angry for whatever reason. But if you don't give them an opportunity to ask that question, then you're never going to know what's actually angering them until they finally get off all their steam and they slow down, right? You know, it's like if you've ever been pulled over by the police and, you know, or had an interaction with the police and you've been angry, the best way to diffuse it is for them to talk quietly, right? They don't yell back at you. They model the behavior that they want to see. So, I mean, I'm not saying if someone's yelling at you, you should smile at them and be like, everything's going to be great. Like, that's probably the last thing you want to do. But giving them an opportunity to actually get out their feelings and say, hey, I want to help you, can make a world of difference. Hope that helps.
Great. Well, I don't see any more questions in the chat box here.
Wonderful. Well, we're right at 10 o'clock. If you have a minute to stick around and answer this last question for me, whenever I do a session, whether it's Zoom, in person, or anywhere else, I always want to know, what's the one thing you're going to walk out of this session and change? What's one thing you learned? Put it in the Q&A for me so I can see it when we're all said and done. And then also, so you are held accountable personally, what are you going to do to provide the best service possible, and really truly show the value of it? So put it in the chat. Again, thank you all for being here with me. I hope you enjoyed this, learned something. Thanks for listening to me chat for an hour. And if you need anything else, my information is here. I'm happy to help you. Like it says, I'm here for you. So get in touch. I'll do whatever I can to help you provide awesome service.
And stay tuned. We are going to have a prize drawing here. As soon as we have some things written in the chat box. You let me know, Nick, when you're ready.
Whenever, well, you go for it, Julie. I love a good prize drawing. Can't go wrong with that.
Okay. As you are writing your notes to Nick in the chat box, also please type a number between 1 and 50. We've already pre-selected a number. We are giving away 4 general admission passes to Brook Green Gardens.
Ooh.
Family.
Can I put a number in too?
No.
Only kidding. I love it. Look at it. They're putting them in there.
Let's see.
You got a winner?
Okay, is everybody ready? Let's see. We've got quite a few in here. Okay, the number we selected was 36. So let me see here. Who's the closest? Let me look. Johnny Pope has 37. So Johnny Pope, you have won 4 tickets, general admission tickets to Brook Green Gardens. If you'd like to give the office a call here, the Georgetown County Chamber of Commerce, and we can get those tickets to you. Our number is 843-546-8436. We would love for you to get a hold of us and we can get those tickets to you. Woohoo! Thank you, everybody, for attending the Georgetown County Chamber of Commerce Business Tools with Nick Destefano. It's been a great morning. I feel very energized and I'm ready to answer those calls that come in all the time. We get some strange calls. People want information, so and some are angry. But I look forward to the rest of the day now. It's going to be a great day.
Y'all have an awesome day. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Nick, for joining us, and thanks everybody for attending.
Thank y'all very much.
Thanks, Nick.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much, Nick.
You're very welcome.